Palestinians. He traveled far and wide in his endeavors. Here, he is seen in China, where he was accorded a welcome usually reserved for visiting heads of state.
أحد شقيري فلسطيني صحيح كان قريب للناصرية.
Ahmad Shuqairi is a Palestinian first and foremost. True, he was close to Nasser, but he proved more than once that he was a Palestinian first. He didn't take on the job to be a tool of Nasser, but to channel the energies of the Palestinian people. He raised the bar when it came to Nasser's views on Palestinian nationalism.
كان المفروض أن ننطلق في 64.
We were supposed to launch in 1964, before the Palestine National Council meeting in Jerusalem. I was there in Jerusalem, but didn't attend the meeting. I was preparing to launch military operations as a gift to the PNC, but we decided against it because we thought it might be perceived as an attempt to upstage the council meeting and its resolutions.
Arafat and his revolutionary comrades in Fatah viewed the newly created PLO with great suspicion. They felt the organization was the product of the same impotent Arab regimes that had lost Palestine in 1948. The Fatah activists wanted instead to take matters into their own hands. And in January 1965, they began attacking targets in Israel. Although militarily insignificant, the first attack was a sign of things to come.
فتح أعلنت عن أول عملية، وأنا برأيي لم تكن أول دورية نزلت للأرض المحتلة.
Fatah declared it had mounted the first operation, although I don't believe it was the first Palestinian patrol to go into occupied Palestine. But the significance is that Fatah's declaration heralded the independence of Palestinian decision-making, that Palestinians would no longer be subservient to Arab government diktat, which would never have approved the launching of the armed struggle.
Arab leaders greeted Fatah's operations with distrust and disdain. They were wary of a radical Palestinian group acting on its own initiative. President Nasser of Egypt suspected Fatah was an extension of the Muslim Brotherhood with whom he was engaged in a vicious struggle. Palestinians who were allied to Nasser hurled elaborate accusations against their fellow Palestinians in Fatah.
كانت الاتهامات تصل إنه هاي خلقتها CIA.
We charged Fatah with being an anti-Nasser body affiliated with the Muslim Brotherhood, even a creation of the CIA. There was a real battle going on between Egyptian intelligence and Fatah. So when Fatah launched its first operation and announced the beginning of the armed struggle, the Arab nationalist movement mounted an all-out assault on Fatah and accused it of trying to drag Nasser into war.
Other Arab leaders openly spoke out in favor of negotiation rather than armed struggle. In 1966, Tunisian President Habib Bourguiba arrived in Egypt on a tour of the region. While in the West Bank, he advised his Palestinian audience to seek a negotiated settlement in order to resolve the Palestinian refugee problem. A message he repeated in Lebanon.
في بيروت معروف أن فيها صحافة حرة وكل إنسان ينجم يتكلم.
We traveled to Beirut, which was known for its free press. We heard a lot of illogical things at the press conference held by Bourguiba. Someone said we are prepared to wait 100 years for a solution to the Palestinian issue. To which Bourguiba replied, "You are a journalist and not a Palestinian. Had you been a Palestinian, you would be adamant that a solution be found as soon as possible."
Bourguiba's comments drew a hostile response. The Arab press denounced him as a traitor and a madman. In Cairo, the Tunisian embassy was set alight by angry demonstrators. The Arab leaders seemed to be out of step with the mood on the street. For his part, President Nasser sought to convince the West of the need to address the problem of the Palestinians before it provoked further violence and instability.
About the rights of the Arabs of Palestine who were expelled out of their country. We have about 1.5 million refugees, expelled completely. You know, the Israelis speak about the Nazi treatment and how they were badly treated in Germany during the Second World War and before the war and so on. They treated the Arabs the same way, expelled them, killed their children, destroyed their villages, and there was escape from Palestine. to the Arab country. I was there on 48. There were the United Nations resolutions, the Security Council resolution. Nothing was fulfilled. And then Israel took everything, took the property of those people, everything, the land, everything from this. What about the rights of these people? You are from Britain. Do you accept to give Manchester to some other people? And if you are American, I ask you, do you accept to give California to some other people? Or do you accept the status quo of occupying Manchester by some other people, by the Chinese, for instance, and then reach agreement after expelling the people of Manchester from their homes, depriving them from their property, from everything? This is the question of Palestine. This question is not represented in Britain or in the West because of the influence of the Jewish propaganda. The Arabs of Palestine want to return back to their homeland, to regain their property. What was the answer of the Israelis? The answer of the Israelis was no. They will not permit single Arab to return back, and they will not give them back their property. But we can do the Arabs. If you have a right and nobody is ready to give it to you, so the only solution is force.
Ask this man, when does he think he'll go back to Palestine?
Nasser's views were echoed by Palestinian refugees who believed liberation was close at hand.
He's hoping to go back to Palestine this very year. How does he think he's going to do that? كيف تظن أنك ستعود إلى فلسطين؟ كيف تظن أنك ستعود إلى فلسطين؟ في طريق التحرير. He is going to liberate Palestine. How is he going to liberate it? Well, with force of arms or how? كيف يمكنك تحرير فلسطين يا ترى بطريق السلاح؟ بطريق السلاح نعم. Yes, by force of arms.
The revolutionaries of Fatah, led by Yasser Arafat, found refuge and support within Syria, viewed as one of the most hardline regimes in the region at the time. And it was Syria that brought matters to a head in 1967.
سوريا بدأت تصرخ أيام صلاح جديد بأن الإسرائيليين يستعدون.
Syria began to cry wolf, claiming that Israel was about to wage war against it, and the Soviets concurred. So Nasser sent an Egyptian military delegation to the Golan that studied the situation and returned with the view that war was not in the offing. But then the Soviets repeated their claims of a coming war.
With the mantle of leader of the Arab world firmly upon his shoulders, President Nasser found it difficult to step back from the escalating tensions in the region. In May 1967, he requested the withdrawal of United Nations observers from Sinai and closed the Suez Canal to Israeli shipping. To Israel, these moves were tantamount to a declaration of war. With conflict imminent, Arab leaders attempted to close ranks. King Hussein of Jordan, who had been the target of accusations and insults by Egyptian state media, made a hasty reconciliation with Nasser.